Yesterday was the anniversary of a bad event. Yeah. But today, it's symbolic. You know. Now, for those who if you clear and if you've been living under a rock for 18 years, then then you clearly and you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't belong on this channel. You don't. If I have to explain it, there's a big problem. All right. I've got a few things on this hat, and I'll explain what they mean. All right. But yesterday was, of course, September 11th. And it's people 18 years ago today. All right. I'm gonna start there. 18 years ago today, there wasn't a flag to be bought. All right. People would buy flags en masse. You know, they would buy 5 or 6 flags at a time. So, in other words, if you had a flag, you were in good shape. My dad, all right, he was working over at WCI in Warren. WCI, Well Crafted Iron, all right, and it was a steel factory. It shut down in 2013, all right. But what they did, they made a lot of military stuff. Well, they didn't make tanks, but they made the metal for it. Everything from grenade stock, the fragment, the metal used for fragment grenades, to the APDSFS of the M1 Abrams, and that means armor piercing, discarding sabot, then stabilized. In other words, a long metal dart that punches through anything that it wants to. Alright? To the armor personnel carriers, to the warships of the Navy, and everything in between. Alright? That day, he said that they didn't just make a new record. They demolished it. Alright? They destroyed that previous record. His foreman said that that the factory altogether had a 200% increase from the record before. And that record is when was the biggest time. But September 12th, 2001, they shattered a record, and they would never reach that pinnacle again. Alright? But, and I once heard, something that 9/11 brought Mother America to her knees. September 12th, Mother America's children came to her and began to help. Anything that counted. Up at the towers. I actually learned about this Monday, but there were people who pretty much helped build those towers. Everything from carpenters to steel workers to welders to plumbers. It's today is the day that America got off of her knees. That got off of the knee that she was put on. All right. When she said, "I need help," and America itself, got up, looked around, pointed to a terrorist and says, "Now you fucked up." Now look at us, 18 years later. The Al Qaeda. They are history, pretty much. Bin Laden, he's been dead. He's been dead for a while now. All right. I think they got him in 2011. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think they got him in 2011. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they had to have gone him in 11. I don't know. I forget. But either way. But yesterday, you know, yesterday's a hard day for me. All right. It's not just because I'm a firefighter, but it's just, you know, you say to yourself every year, you know, I say to myself every year, I'm not gonna look up the French Brothers documentary. I'm not gonna be looking up, you know, the 9/11 museum. I'm not gonna look at this. I'm not gonna look at that. Halfway through the day, what am I looking at? The French Brothers documentary on this. Neighbor. I know I have a lot of neighbors. But now for those who don't know, it's gonna take a lot of digging on YouTube, alright? But you will eventually find the French Brothers documentary. The French Brothers, alright? Gideon and Jules Naudet, alright? They were doing a documentary on a firefighter, single firefighter, alright? And from academy, alright, to 6 months later. 6 months is the probationary period. Well, about 2 months after it, about 2 months afterwards, the day that shook America to its core happened. Alright? Let's go over the targets that they chose. The World Trade Center. Alright? A symbol of America's economic power. Alright? That's, that's a big target, The Pentagon. Alright? It was, it was obviously the military's power. Alright? We don't know where Flight 93 went. We don't know where it was going because of everybody on board that plane. Alright? And it's, and I've been to the Twin Towers. Well, the fountains, alright? The site of where the Twin Towers once were. And yeah. And I've also been to the Shanksville. I've been to Somerset, and each time, each one you're there, it's hard. Obviously, for me, it's obviously hard. Anybody who wears the Maltese Cross, and anybody who wears Maltese Cross, or walk on the thin blue line, they know what I mean. Alright? But it's a hard day for us, September 12th gave birth to a number. Alright? Well, gave birth to two. 3,000 some odd. The total casualties. Alright? Of yesterday. Then gave birth to a different number. Anybody who knows anything about firefighting, they've heard this number a lot, alright? What is this number, you might ask? 343. 343. What is it? It's the number of firefighters lost. Alright. So that number impact, before 9/11, losing a firefighter was okay, Let's band together. Losing 343. It was like taking a knife straight to the back. Now, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now. If anybody posts anything about 9/11 was not, that the towers collapsed, not, for some reason other than the planes, they're getting kicked, they're getting blocked, they're getting reported. Alright? And I know what you're about to say if you're one of those dipshit pinheads. But jet fuel doesn't burn hot enough to melt steel. You don't need to melt steel to weaken it. Anybody who knows shit about metal. Alright? And don't even ask Alex Jones, because I don't think he even knows what metal is. He couldn't tell me the difference between 2 gauge and 12 gauge sheet metal. He couldn't tell me the difference between MIG, TIG, and ARC. Alright? You don't need to melt steel to weaken it. Heat weakens metal. That's a well-known fact. Alright? And let's say that some of the supports were taken out by the plane itself. That's what? A few tons? Jet fuel burns not hot enough to melt, but hot enough to warp. Alright? And what? 1 cubic feet of concrete is a ton or two. You can say about how once you get metal bending, it's kind of hard to stop. Alright? But, today, September 12th, the day that America got up off the floor and sat down. Every year up at Shanksville, the Twin Towers, memorials held for them. I'm pretty sure it happens at the Pentagon, but memorials held. Not just for the first responders. Not just for the first responders, not just for the Flight 93, but for everybody. Alright? And I would say, go look it up. Go look up the French Brothers 9/11 documentary. As I said, it'll take you a while. YouTube doesn't like 9/11, doesn't like that documentary, specifically. Why? Because it's raw. It's somewhat cut. But what you see in that, you know, in that documentary is what actually happened in the North Tower. All right. What do you mean? You hear everything. You hear the sound of the jumpers hitting the ground with a massive thud. You hear the roar of the South Tower. And a few minutes later, you hear the roar of the North Tower. They all miraculously survived. Alright? Everybody on that... No, I can't say that. All but one miraculously survived the falling. The one who didn't survive actually died of a heart attack. He was like 73. So, he died of a heart attack. But, you know, yesterday I found myself looking through the 9/11 Museum, you know, the exclusive tour before it opened. And I saw Ladder 3. Big Red as it's called. Why is it called Big Red? Why Ladder 3? Ladder 3 is of course a ladder truck, you know. It's designed to go up maybe 6 stories. You know, and you don't look at things in the same way as the fire truck. Other than maybe the helmet. Right? You see parts of the antenna on the North Tower where 5 people were on the top floor shutting down power to the rest of the World Trade Center buildings just so they can get the news out that, hey, something just happened and it's not looking good. Alright? None of them survived. You know, you see the survivor column. The survivor column was a piece of steel with concrete around it. Alright? With the units painted onto it. You know, the ones that were lost. Alright? And it's right there. Plain simple. You don't look at that as human, pretty much. Steel. And concrete. Strong. Almost, you know, we couldn't do it. Look at the antenna. We couldn't do that. You know, there wasn't that much emotion put into those until the end. Then you look at Big Red. Ladder 3. Ladder 3, there is no front to that rig. There is no more. And, you know, I was looking some, you know, and I heard something and it sticks with me, you know, when it will. The metaphor, it cannot stop. And that is a 110-story building falling on it. You know, there were only like 5 survivors from the Ladder 3 rig. Alright? But then there's hope. There was hope. A little bit. North Tower, Stairway B. What's so important about that? 13 people survived the collapse. To tell how they heard the stores hitting one another as they went down. Alright? This is going to be a long video. And It's probably gonna be the longest one I've ever made. But this is what happened, and this truly is what, you know. Then you look, you know, now time for me to go on to Flight 93, and when you go there, you can see the flight of path where the impact happened. You see where, alright? And that's that. Then, at the Pentagon, you've got pretty much what look like benches, alright? On the benches, there are names, pointing whether they were, if I'm correct, it's this way, it's the flight. If it's going this way, it's the people who are in the Pentagon. Alright? But I'm gonna leave it there. Fucking faggot. Have to be nice to people wearing a fire department hat. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. I'll have to hide it somehow and you know, put it as firefighter things like 5 or 4 or whatever. Yeah, I'll just put it as firefighter things 4. In the description I'll tell you, you know, have a nice day and such. But you know, this is that, and that's how it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. See y'all later.